The power of gratitude is something most people hear about, but very few truly experience. And that is the difference between hearing a truth and living it. Because when gratitude becomes real in your life, everything begins to shift in ways that are almost impossible to explain. Your thoughts slow down, your heart feels lighter, and even the problems that once felt overwhelming begin to lose their weight. Not because they disappear, but because you are no longer standing in the same place internally. Gratitude quietly moves you. It lifts your perspective. And suddenly, you are not stuck in what is missing. You are aware of what is present. And that changes everything. Think about this for a moment. There are people who have very little, yet they carry peace. And there are people who seem to have everything, yet feel empty. What creates that difference? It is not circumstances alone. It is perception. And gratitude is the key. That unlocks a new way of seeing. When you begin to notice what is already in your life, even the smallest things, something powerful happens inside you. Your mind stops searching for lack and starts recognizing abundance. Even if nothing around you has changed, you have changed. And here is where it becomes almost surprising. Gratitude does not need perfect conditions. It does not wait for everything to go right. In fact, its greatest power shows up when things are not perfect, when life feels uncertain, when prayers seem unanswered. That is when gratitude becomes a quiet strength, a decision to say, I still see something good. I still believe there is meaning here. And that decision carries more power than most people realize. There is also something almost humorous about how simple this is. Because the human mind tends to complicate everything. We think transformation must be dramatic. Something big. Something visible. Yet one of the greatest shifts begins with something as small as saying thank you. And truly meaning it. Not out of habit. Not out of routine. But from awareness. From presence. When you live this way, gratitude stops being a moment and becomes a lifestyle. It follows you into ordinary days, into quiet mornings, into situations that once drained you, and slowly, without force, it reshapes who you are. You become calmer, stronger, more grounded. And in a world that constantly pulls attention toward what is wrong, you become someone who sees what is still good. And that is a rare kind of strength. Gratitude is not just a good habit. It is not just a positive mindset. It is something deeper. Something intentional. Something that aligns your life with the very heart of God. Because when Scripture calls us to give thanks in all circumstances, it is not a suggestion. It is a calling. A way of living. That connects you to something eternal. And at first, that idea can feel challenging, even unrealistic. Because how do you give thanks when life does not make sense? When things are not going your way? When you are tired, disappointed, or even hurting? But that is exactly where the power of this truth begins. Gratitude is not based on what is happening around you. It is rooted in who God is, and who He has always been. Faithful, present, and good. Even when your situation does not reflect it yet. And when you start to understand this, something shifts inside you. You are no longer reacting to life moment by moment. You are responding from a deeper place of trust. Most people naturally give thanks when something good happens. When prayers are answered. When doors open. When life feels smooth. And that is easy. Anyone can do that. But what makes gratitude powerful? What makes it transformative? Is when it shows up. In the middle of uncertainty. When you choose to say thank you. even before you see the outcome. That is faith in motion. That is trust becoming real. And here is something many people overlook. God does not need your gratitude, but He delights in it, because gratitude reveals your heart. It shows that you recognize His presence, not just in the big moments, but in every moment. And that kind of awareness builds a relationship that is alive, not distant, not mechanical, but real. There is also a quiet freedom in living this way, because when you make gratitude a daily choice, you are no longer controlled by circumstances. Good days do not define your joy, and difficult days do not take it away. You begin to carry something steady within you, something unshaken. So when you hear that giving thanks in all circumstances is the will of God, it is not a burden. It is an invitation into a life that is more grounded, more peaceful, and deeply connected to Him, even in ways you may not fully understand yet. There is a quiet problem that lives inside almost every human heart. And the strange thing is, most people do not even realize it is there. It does not make noise. It does not announce itself. But it slowly shapes the way we see everything. And that problem is this: we forget. We forget what we have been given. We forget what has been done for us. And without even noticing, we begin to live as if everything we have is simply normal, expected, or even deserved. At first, it feels harmless. After all, life moves fast. There are responsibilities, pressures, expectations, things to achieve, things to fix. And in the middle of all that, it is easy to focus on what is missing, instead of what is present. Your mind naturally drifts toward the next problem, the next goal, the next thing that is not quite right. And over time, that pattern becomes your default way of thinking. You wake up already scanning for what needs to be improved, what needs to change, what is not enough. And here is where it becomes dangerous. Because the more you focus on what is lacking, the less you see what is already there. It is like training your eyes to ignore blessings, even when they are right in front of you. You could be living in answered prayers that you once cried for, and still feel dissatisfied, still feel empty, simply because your attention has shifted. There is also something deeply human about waiting for something big before feeling grateful. We tell ourselves that once we reach a certain point, once something finally works out, once life becomes easier, then we will feel thankful. Then we will slow down and appreciate things. But that moment rarely comes the way we imagine. Because when one desire is fulfilled, another one quickly takes its place. And the cycle continues, always chasing, never arriving. And sometimes, if we are honest, we do not just forget. We overlook. We minimize. We dismiss the small things as unimportant. Waking up in the morning feels normal. Having food feels expected. Being protected throughout the day goes unnoticed. Until one day, something goes wrong. And suddenly we realize how fragile everything actually is. How none of it was guaranteed. How much we had, without even acknowledging it. There is even a subtle kind of pride hidden in this pattern. A belief that what we have is the result of our own effort alone. That we earned it. That we built it. And while effort matters, that mindset quietly removes the sense of wonder, the sense of dependence, the sense of gratitude, and replaces it with pressure. Pressure to maintain, to achieve more, to never fall behind. And that pressure slowly drains joy from life. What makes this even more difficult is that in times of pain or disappointment, gratitude feels almost unnatural. When something does not go your way, When you are hurt, when expectations collapse, your mind narrows. It focuses on the loss, the frustration, the unfairness. And in those moments, everything good that has ever happened can feel distant, almost irrelevant, as if it belongs to a different life. But this is where the real shift needs to happen, because the issue is not that there is nothing to be grateful for. It is that we have trained ourselves not to see it. We have conditioned our hearts to respond more strongly to problems than to blessings. And unless that pattern changes, no amount of external success will ever feel like enough. The truth is, ingratitude does not always look obvious. It does not always appear as complaining or negativity. Sometimes it shows up as constant striving, constant dissatisfaction, a quiet sense that something is missing, even when life is full. And that is what makes it so powerful. It hides in plain sight, shaping emotions, decisions, and even faith. But the moment you begin to recognize this pattern, the moment you see it clearly, you take back control. Because awareness is the first step to transformation. You realize that the problem was never just your circumstances. It was the lens through which you were seeing them. And once that lens begins to change, everything else can begin to change as well. There is a quiet shift that changes everything. And it does not begin outside of you. It begins in the way you see. Because life is not only shaped by what happens, it is shaped by how you interpret what happens. And for many people, the problem is not that God is absent. It is that He is unnoticed, hidden in the ordinary, present in the small moments that are easy to overlook. Most of us are trained to look for the extraordinary. We want clear signs, big breakthroughs, undeniable miracles, something that feels impossible to ignore. And while those moments do exist, they are not where most of life happens. Life unfolds in the quiet, in the routine, in the small details that repeat day after day. And if your eyes are only searching for the spectacular, you will miss the steady presence of God woven into the ordinary. Think about how easy it is to dismiss a simple day. Nothing dramatic happened. Nothing went terribly wrong. Nothing felt extraordinary. And so the day is labeled as average, forgettable, maybe even boring. But what if that ordinary day was filled with quiet protection, unseen guidance, small provisions that held everything together? What if the fact that nothing went wrong was not random, but grace at work? This is where perspective begins to change. Because when you start to look differently, you begin to see differently. And suddenly, the same life you once overlooked starts to reveal something deeper. You notice the timing of things, the way certain problems did not escalate, the way help appeared at the right moment, the way strength showed up when you thought you had none left. These are not always loud miracles, but they are real. There is also something powerful about choosing to slow down. Because a rushed life rarely recognizes subtle blessings. When your mind is constantly moving toward the next task, the next goal, the next worry, you lose awareness of what is happening right now. And that is often where God is most visible. In the present moment. In the breath you just took. In the fact that you are still here. Still moving forward. And yes, it may feel uncomfortable at first, especially if you have spent years measuring life by achievements, by results, by visible outcomes. Shifting your focus to the small things can feel almost insignificant, like you are lowering your expectations. But the opposite is true. You are actually expanding your awareness. You are training your heart to recognize value where it once saw nothing. There is even a kind of quiet joy that comes with this shift. a lighter way of living. Because you are no longer waiting for life to become perfect. Before you allow yourself to feel grateful, you are finding reasons now, in moments that would have passed unnoticed before. And that changes your emotional world, in ways that are hard to explain, but easy to feel. Sometimes it helps to ask a simple question. What if this moment matters more than I think? What if there is something here I am not seeing yet? That question alone can open your awareness. It slows your thinking. It creates space for gratitude to grow. And over time, it rewires how you experience your life. And the truth is, God has never limited himself to the extraordinary. He has always been present in the details, in the rhythms of daily life, in the things that feel small, but are actually sustaining you. The challenge is not his absence. It is our attention. So when you begin to shift your perspective, when you intentionally look for God in the small things, everything changes. Not because your circumstances suddenly become perfect, but because your awareness becomes deeper, richer, more connected, and in that space, gratitude begins to flow naturally, not forced. Not artificial, but real. Because you are finally seeing what was there all along. There is something deeply transformative that happens when gratitude moves from being an idea into a lived experience. It begins to heal parts of you that you may not even realize are hurting. Because most of the battles people face are not always visible. They happen in the mind. In the quiet conversations you have with yourself, in the emotions that rise and fall throughout the day, and when those inner spaces are filled with stress, fear, or disappointment, everything in life starts to feel heavier. Even simple things become exhausting. Gratitude works differently. It does not ignore pain. It does not pretend that problems do not exist. Instead, it gently redirects your focus. It reminds your mind that your story is not only made of what is wrong, but also of what is still good. And that shift alone can begin to release tension you have been carrying for a long time. Because your mind was never designed to hold only negativity. It needs balance. It needs perspective. One of the first things you may notice is how quickly your emotional state can change. Not completely. Not instantly perfect. But noticeably lighter. You may still have challenges, but they no longer consume all of your attention. Gratitude creates space between you and your problems. It allows you to breathe again, to think more clearly, to respond instead of react. And that space is powerful, because it is where healing begins. There is also a memory effect that gratitude activates. Something almost surprising. When you intentionally begin to give thanks, your mind starts searching for reasons to support that feeling. It brings back moments you had forgotten. Times when things worked out. Times when you were helped, protected, guided, and suddenly, you are reminded that your life has not been a series of failures. It has been a journey filled with both struggles and victories. And that realization strengthens you. In difficult seasons, this becomes even more important, because pain has a way of narrowing your focus. It makes the present moment feel permanent, like things will always be this way. But gratitude breaks that illusion. It reconnects you to a bigger timeline. It reminds you that things have changed before, and they can change again. And with that reminder comes hope. Not forced optimism, but a quiet confidence that you are not stuck. There is also a calming effect on the body itself. When your thoughts shift, your physical state follows. Your breathing slows. Your muscles relax. The constant tension begins to ease. Because your mind is no longer signaling danger all the time. Instead, it begins to recognize safety, even if only in small moments. And those small moments add up, creating a sense of stability within you. What many people do not realize is that gratitude also protects you from emotional extremes. It keeps you grounded when things go well. It keeps you humble, aware that what you have is a gift. And when things go wrong, it keeps you steady, aware that not everything is lost. This balance is what creates resilience, the ability to move through life without being completely shaken by every change. There is even a relational benefit, because when your heart is filled with gratitude, it naturally reflects outward. You become more patient, more understanding, more present with others. You are less reactive, less defensive, and that changes the quality of your relationships. People can feel the difference, even if they cannot explain it. And perhaps one of the most powerful effects is this: gratitude restores joy, not the loud, temporary kind, but a deeper, quieter joy that does not depend entirely on circumstances. It grows from within, and once it is there, it becomes a steady source of strength, something you can return to again and again. So when you practice gratitude consistently, you are not just being positive. You are actively healing your mind, stabilizing your emotions, and rebuilding your inner world, piece by piece, until one day, you realize that you are no longer the same person you used to be. You are stronger, calmer, and more at peace than you ever thought possible. There is a difference between saying thank you and truly feeling it. And that difference matters more than most people realize. Because gratitude that is empty has no power. It is just words, just sound, just a habit repeated without meaning. But real gratitude carries weight. It carries emotion. It comes from awareness. And that is what makes it alive. It is easy to fall into routine, to say thank you quickly, automatically, without stopping to feel anything, especially when life becomes busy, or when your heart feels distant. But God is not looking for perfect words. He is looking for a sincere heart, a heart that recognizes, that pauses, that truly sees what has been given, even if it is expressed in the simplest way. Sincerity also means honesty. It means you do not pretend everything is fine when it is not. You do not force emotions that are not there. Instead, you come as you are. Maybe tired, maybe confused, maybe still searching. And you say thank you for what you can see, even if it feels small, even if it feels incomplete. And that honesty makes your gratitude real. There is also something important about joy, because true gratitude carries a sense of lightness, not pressure, not obligation, but willingness. It is not something you do because you have to. It is something you do because your heart is beginning to recognize goodness. And that recognition naturally creates a quiet joy within you. And when gratitude becomes sincere, it changes your connection with God. It is no longer distant, no longer mechanical. It becomes personal, real, alive. Because you are not just speaking words. You are sharing your heart. And that is where true transformation begins. There is a principle that many people overlook. Not because it is hidden, but because it feels too simple to be powerful. And yet, it is one of the most consistent patterns you will ever see. Gratitude does not just reflect blessing. It attracts it. It creates space for more to flow into your life. Not always in ways you expect, but in ways you will eventually recognize. Think about the moment When Jesus gave thanks before multiplying the loaves, nothing had changed yet. The need was still there. The resources were still limited. And yet, gratitude came first. Not after the miracle, but before it. And that order matters, because it reveals something deeper. Gratitude is not only a response, it is a trigger, a doorway that opens what is already possible, but not yet visible. Most people wait. They wait to see results before they believe, before they feel thankful, before they acknowledge anything good. But that kind of waiting keeps them stuck, because it ties their gratitude to outcomes. And when outcomes are delayed, their hearts grow heavy, their faith weakens, and their perspective narrows. But when you choose gratitude first, something shifts. You step out of that waiting cycle. You begin to live from trust instead of proof. And that changes how you experience everything. Because now, you are not reacting to what is missing. You are responding to what is already in motion. Even if you cannot fully see it yet, there is also a multiplying effect that happens internally. When you give thanks for what you have, you begin to value it more. You take better care of it. You recognize its importance. And in doing so, you expand its impact in your life. What once felt small begins to feel significant. And that sense of significance changes how you show up every day. And yes, sometimes the blessing is external. Opportunities open. Situations shift. Things begin to align in ways that feel almost unexpected. But even when that does not happen immediately, something even more important is taking place. You are being changed. Your heart is becoming more open, more aware, more aligned with peace and trust. And that inner transformation is a blessing in itself. There is also something almost ironic about this. Because the more grateful you become, the less you feel the need to chase blessings. And yet, that is often when they begin to appear. Not because you force them, but because your life has become a place where they can land. So when you practice gratitude, you are not just acknowledging what is good, you are participating in a process that allows more good to grow, both within you and around you. And over time, you begin to see that gratitude was never small. It was always a key, quietly unlocking doors you did not even know were there. Heavenly Father, today I pause, not because everything is perfect, but because I choose to see what I have been missing. I thank you for this moment, for breath, for life, for the quiet strength that has carried me, even when I did not notice. I thank you for the things I once overlooked, the simple blessings that have always been there. Forgive me for the times I forgot, for the moments I focused more on what was missing than what was present, for the days I allowed worry to be louder than gratitude. Today, I choose differently. Today, I open my eyes. Help me to see you in the small things, in ordinary moments, in the quiet parts of my day. Teach my heart to recognize goodness, even when life feels uncertain, and give me the strength to remain thankful in every season, not just when it is easy. I choose to live with gratitude, not as a habit alone, but as a way of being. Let my thoughts reflect it. Let my words carry it. Let my life reveal it. Shape my perspective, renew my mind, and fill my heart with a steady peace that does not depend on circumstances. From this moment forward, I will remember. I will give thanks. I will trust. And I will walk each day aware that you are with me, guiding me, sustaining me, and working in ways I may not yet see. Thank you. Always.